Well, why don't we begin, and we'll let everybody just make their way into the main room here. But we do want to get to our very exciting showcase, with our very exciting guest speaker. But we do have some business to take care of first, and business is very important. So I guess I'll just start by saying good evening, everyone. My name is Ben Wynot. I'm proud to serve as the Vice Chair of the Board of Directors of the Reach Edmonton Council for Safe Communities. Our chair, Pilar Martinez, could not be with us tonight, but I'm happy to welcome you to the 2019 Annual General Meeting on her behalf. But as we begin our meeting, and people are milling in with some very delicious food, anybody want to bring any of that up to the podium, perhaps? There's a hungry MC up here. Oh, thank you. Thanks, Allison. Okay. I'm always sad to interrupt people's pleasant socializing. Before we begin our meeting, I just wanted to respectfully acknowledge that we are gathering today on the traditional territory of Treaty 6, and please join me in also recognizing the Métis people of Alberta who share a deep connection with this land. I'd like to call the business portion of our 2019 annual general meeting to order. I have confirmed that we do have quorum, so that's very exciting. If we didn't, we could all just go home. But we do have quorum, so that's good. Just a little housekeeping as we get started. Please use the colored card provided to vote. So just hold it up in your hands when we actually do vote on some motions. And we do have a few motions to vote on tonight, so it looks like this. And if you're moving or seconding a motion, and I'm going to just ask for people to move and second motions throughout the program, just yell out that you'll move the motion, but also let us have your name, because I think / hope that someone's taking minutes. Catherine is taking minutes, so she needs your name for those minutes. And so if you're moving or seconding a motion, just yell out your first and last names so that Catherine can put them in the minutes. Oh, that food smells good. I'm so jealous of all of you. My time will come, I'm sure. But first we have to do some business. So I'm going to start off the meeting just by delivering the chairperson's report on Pilar's behalf. So, as I'm sure you know, Reach Edmonton's mission is to inspire citizen engagement and coordinated agency action to strengthen and sustain community safety in Edmonton. And let's be honest, just from the very beginning, let's start off on a note of honesty, why don't we? It's really our amazing and talented staff who deliver on this mission every day, working alongside some tremendous partners, many of whom I'm sure are here today, actually. And so I just wanted to start off by thanking our incredible Reach staff for organizing this event, but also for delivering on the Reach mission each and every day, working alongside our partners. But you know, the board, we kind of have an important role to support our organization in delivering on this mission by providing effective governance, a framework of policies and bylaws. We're going to talk about bylaws more than you dreamed possible later on today. And by setting the strategic direction through a 3-year strategic plan. So I just wanted to take a few moments in the chairperson's report to talk about a few of the ways we've fulfilled our role as a board in 2018-19. And there are a couple. So for example, we held a retreat with the full board and the leadership team in September 2018, where we really challenged ourselves to think about some complex topics, like how do we ensure our programmatic initiatives are truly having a systemic impact on our community? How can we better live up to our commitment to reflect the diversity of our communities at all levels of the organization, including the board? And that's an important commitment. We're really continuing some exceptional work over the last few years to strengthen our financial governance. And we're going to talk about that a little bit later as well when we get to everyone's favorite topic, the audited financial statements. But we also approved a comprehensive set of new financial policies in November 2018, which was, I think, a big accomplishment for our finance committee. As I'm maybe threatened, warned, hinted at, we're going to be we've looked carefully at our bylaws over the last year, and we have some ideas for ways to improve our bylaws that we'll be sharing with you tonight. Our work on the bylaws is unfolding alongside an overhaul of the board policy manual, the first time we've undertaken this work, basically since the very early days of the organization. We've really challenged ourselves to have more open-ended, generative conversations about who we are, what we do, and why we do it, and this has taken the board in some unexpected but very positive directions. Again, as you'll see in a few moments, we've recruited some incredibly talented new board members that we will ask you to elect to the board in just a few moments. We're pushing ourselves to do better, not only in the way we orient new board members, but in how we support learning, development, and training for all board members to make sure that we have the skills and abilities that our communities expect. And because we can always do better, no matter how good we are, we've invested a lot of thought in ways to assess our board performance, both individually and collectively, and over the short term and over the long term. So these are some of the things we've been working on over the last year, and I'm really proud of what we've accomplished as a board this year. I'm really excited to see what this tremendous group of people tackles in the year ahead. And not that I planned this in any way, but all the work that the board does, as I mentioned, really supports the work we do in the community. And that's the piece that should be front and center. And just naturally, completely naturally, without any planning at all, that leads me to the annual report for 2018. Our bylaws, section 6.3 of our current bylaws, requires the society to submit an annual report to the membership 180 days after the end of each fiscal year. So you'll find a copy of your annual report at your table. It looks like this document. And I encourage you to take a look at it at your leisure. Take it home, read it over a glass of wine by the fireplace, see what Reach is up to. But I'd really like to encourage you to use this as a tool to talk about Reach's work within your networks, within your neighborhoods. It's a really excellent piece of material that summarizes the work we're doing in the community. But you remember when I mentioned those voting cards? So this is our first motion for today. So this is a sort of a test run to see how badly I'm going to do tonight. To fulfill this commitment in our bylaws to table this report, we'd like to ask that we adopt this annual report for 2018. So could I ask someone to make that motion who's a current voting member? I see Tim Adams. Could I have a seconder? I'll say Ben Weinlich. Did you get those two? Is there any debate on that motion? Now, using your cards. All in favor? Thank you. Is there anyone opposed to the very contentious motion of adopting our annual report? Anybody? Any malcontents here? No? Okay. Any abstentions? You're just not sure if we should adopt the annual report or not? Okay. I'll say no. So I'm going to say that I think that motion was carried. That's a good sign for what's to come, I hope. So moving right along, you also have a copy of the 2018 meeting minutes in the member package that you were provided. So those would be the meeting minutes from the AGM last year, which feels like just yesterday, but it's actually been a whole year. Now, I just wanted to make sure, could we actually get this motion on? We'd have to approve these minutes as a motion. So I'd actually like to ask again, and we'll try to spread the honor of moving motions around a little bit so it's not just one or two people, because sharing's important. So would someone other than Tim like to move approval of the, because he did it last time, the AGM minutes for 2018. Do I have a mover? Lori Hahn, the Honorable Lori Hahn, thank you. A seconder? Brad Jessen will second that one. Now that the motion's been moved and seconded, I just want to check, is there any debate on the motion, which would normally take the form of, are there any errors or omissions in the 2018 minutes? Do they say you were there when you were nowhere near here? Was anything misstated? Excellent. So, once again, using our voting cards, all in favor of approving the 2018 minutes. Oh, good. That's great. Is anyone opposed to approving those minutes? Do you want to leave us minuteless for a whole year? Nope. Okay. Anybody abstaining? Okay, good. Let's say that the motion to approve the minutes was carried. I think it was carried. Oh, it was close, though. So now we've done those two pieces of business. We're totally rolling. I'd like to call on our treasurer, Brad Jessen, to present the 2018 financial report. Brad will summarize the audit findings report and the audited financial statements. He's going to ask for a motion to approve the financial report, and he's also going to ask for a motion to appoint the auditors for next year. But now that I've totally stolen his entire presentation, over to you, Brad.
Thank you, Ben, for the most exciting part of the night. I know why everyone came here. In the annual report, we've built a really nice financial summary. So there are 20-page financial statements, but we summarized it all right here. Easy to understand. So as I go along, you can look at that. My name is Brad Jessen, and I'm the treasurer for REACH. So I'll just highlight a few key items from our financial statements. REACH is audited annually by KPMG to provide our funders, members, partners, and the community assurance that our finances are accurately reported and safeguarded. So KPMG is our external auditor, and I think they're represented by Laura and Petra. Are they here? There they are. Thank you. KPMG issued a clean audit report for 2018, so no significant deficiencies were noted. They signaled good financial management, which is great from a board perspective. So looking at the financial results, we have just over $380,000 of cash at the end of the year, $250,000 in investments for a rainy day, which is healthy. We prepaid expenses of $120,000. And then our main liabilities are deferred contributions, money we've received that we haven't yet spent, typically from other funders. So our main funder is the City of Edmonton, and they provided us with just under $4.8 million, which funded the 24/7 initiative, out of school time, summer programming, the ambassador program, the community wellness initiatives. Those were the major items under there. And then we had other grants and contributions of just under $2.3 million, which funded the RAPID program, All In for Youth initiative, Bridging Together, and the REACH Immigrant and Refugee Initiative. Total program expenses were 72% of that at $5.1 million. And the remainder goes to general operations, finance, and information technology. And that was just under $1.9 million. So we did run a small deficit, but we were not alarmed because we did plan for that. REACH had been fortunate enough to run surpluses in previous years, and we funneled some of those into some neighborhoods initiatives, RAPID to help with bridge funding, and summer OST summer programming. So the board is pleased with the financial position of REACH, and there's no major concerns from me as the treasurer. Any questions on the finances? If not, we will need a motion. So I'll need a motion to approve the audited financial statements. Grant Erickson, and a seconder, Linda. And then I will also need a motion. We'd like to appoint KPMG again for 2019. They've worked with us for a few years and have been a good auditor. So I'll need a motion to approve KPMG as the auditors for 2019. Oh, we have to go on the first one. Yeah, all in favor on approving the process. Key. Approved. And then the second one to approve KPMG as the auditors. I'll need a motion. Lee Newton? Second? Donna, thank you. All in favor? Carried. Thank you. Ben, I will get you to continue with the agenda. Thank you.
And that's effectively the only break you get from me for the entire meeting. So I hope you like the sound of my voice. Thank you, Brad. So the next item is the proposed bylaw revisions. And so Now, this is admittedly a bit of a dense package, perhaps, depending on your normalcy as a human being. Some of us enjoy it, not everybody. So I did want to put together just a couple of slides just to walk people through this, if you'll indulge me for a little bit. So this is the final stop for these bylaws, and oh, have they ever been on such a long and tumultuous journey. I'm so excited to share that with you. But this is not the last stop, as someone just warned me, actually. They have to go to Alberta registries after that, and who knows what the heck they'll do with them. But for our purposes, this is the last stop. So I have to be careful not to miss the microphone. So there's a couple of pieces to the documents on your table. There's a brief report. There's attachment A. This is the proposed new bylaws that are clean without any revisions marked. And then there is a 3-column document that outlines every change, word by word, comma by comma. It was really, really fun to put together, all 26 pages of it. And then the last document, oh, I almost pressed the blackout button. They told me not to do that. The last document is the current bylaws, which were last amended in 2014. So we distributed the bylaw package by email on May 14th, 2019, which was a couple of days in advance of the 21-day notice period for any special resolution, including bylaws. So I hope that members received that email, and the bylaws were also posted on REACH's website and are still there today, but they will be removed from the website following this meeting. Now, we've only made limited copies out of concern for the environment because it is a 45-page package. But there are packages on the table. There should be about 3 per table. So get to know your neighbors and share and share in the love of bylaws is what I'm saying. Why review the bylaws other than the fact that it's really, really, really fun? There's a couple of reasons. We've been thinking about it for a while. Previous AGMs, we introduced notices of motion 2017. That was around maximum board composition. And then 2018, we introduced a notice of motion around officer limits, officer term limits. So we've been encountering things that we thought we might want to change with our bylaws, but we actually stepped back and said, why do it piecemeal? Why do one at a time? Let's just do the whole bylaws all at once and propose a consistent set of amendments. The second reason is it's about that time anyway. The bylaws were last amended 2014, so that's about 5 years, and that's actually not a bad standard for regular reviews of an organization's bylaws. So hopefully we're right on track. And the last reason, we're revising our policy manual, as I mentioned in the chairperson's report. So we're reviewing and updating all of our policies. My friend Donna Ludvigson is doing that with me in the Governance and Nominations Committee. So that's really interesting work, and it makes sense to do the policies and the bylaws simultaneously, so they fit together. So the process, there's the wonderful, wonderful process. It's been going on for 2 years. We've been really talking about them for 2 years, now 3 years, but the process to produce these amendments really started in the spring of 2018, when a few of us said, we really should probably do this instead of just talking about it. And so that's when we scoped out a timeline and really decided that AGM 2019, that was going to be the date that by hook or by crook, we would bring something forward. And so that's when the process began. We engaged an external reviewer, and I just wanted to pause at this point to say that the Board of Directors sincerely thanks Mr. Gord McKenzie for taking the time to review our bylaws, not just once, but twice, and he provided us with excellent feedback that has informed the final form of the revisions. In fact, we accepted all of Gord's recommendations, and so we really, really appreciate him as an outside volunteer taking the time to do that work. The wonderful Governance and Nominations Committee spent October, November, December reviewing those proposed amendments, both from Gord and from within the organization. 3 months of looking at very long worksheets and trying to figure out what we would keep and what we would move into policy or do other things with. Gord took another look at it in February. That was after the board had a chance to take a look at it in January. They had some excellent comments. And so we went back to the board in March 2019, and we received final approval, which allowed us to move forward with the stage of putting together the package, sending it out to the membership, which we did in May. And so that's where we are right now. We've come all the way to the very last part of the process. But as I mentioned, if the bylaws are approved today, then we'll submit them to Alberta registries, and in about 9 to 10 years, they'll get back to us with some thoughts about how good they are. And I'm sure they'll have some suggestions about things that we could change, which am I allowed to even say this? Whatever. It depends on which person you get, and so anyway, we'll deal with that as it comes. But it's stuck. So all that is really the lead up for the main section, which is what are the amendments anyway? So there are amendments proposed to almost 25 sections, and so I know you're probably just so disappointed. We can't go through each one of them amendment by amendment. We'd be here until next week. So I just wanted to say that we can categorize them in one of 3 groups. So the first group is just straight streamlining the bylaws to reduce redundancy. This was the focus of the external reviewers' comments in a big way. And just an example of some of the redundancy in our bylaws, there's a whole section on definitions that takes up several pages that points us to definitions provided elsewhere. So the whole section is the secretary means what the secretary is defined as on page 12. And we were kind of like, do we really need that in there? And so a lot of those portions have been removed. There are pieces that are directly lifted from the Societies Act, so they apply to the organization anyway. And so we just decided to put the bylaws on a little bit of a diet, which we can all use from time to time. I know I can. And so that's the largest set of amendments by far. It's just simple simplification. The second set is enabling the transfer of certain bylaws into board policies. Because we're redoing the policy manual, we have an opportunity to move some things into policy where they would be better suited to being in policy. Just as an example, we gave the notice of motion last year about officer term limits. We had faced a situation where we had a very, you just saw, we have a very capable treasurer. He was willing to serve for a 3rd year. We didn't have another person with that expertise that could replace him at the time. But our bylaws say, no, you cannot do that. They must serve a maximum term limit of 2 years. And so we had to make the choice of, do we want to violate our bylaws, or do we want to do what's logical and makes sense and in the best interests of the organization, which is not having someone like me in charge of the organization's finances. So we reappointed the treasurer for a 3rd year, and we put that on the list as term limits for officers is a good thing. It's not a bad thing for an organization to have. We don't want officers serving for 10, 15, 20, a million years. But it would be better off in policy. So if you run into a situation where you need to have some flexibility, you can make an exception without going through a year-long process with the membership and with Alberta registries. So that's a good example of certain things that we're suggesting be transferred into board policies, which are being written right now. And to be clear, we already have existing policies in place on many of the topics we're recommending be transferred to policy. So it's not like there's a gap. And the last set are the more of the amendments of choice, where there are cases where we just thought that there were amendments that worked better for the organization preferentially based on what we have in the bylaws currently. My favorite example, which the poor board has heard over and over and over again, the dissolution clause in our bylaws allows the membership to dissolve the organization by simple majority vote. The threshold for amending the bylaws is actually higher than that. It's 2/3. So the whole organization could be dissolved by 50% of the membership plus 1 vote. But it's actually harder to amend the bylaws than to dissolve the whole organization. And so we just thought that we weren't really a fan of that, and that the standard for dissolving the organization should be higher, perhaps 2/3, like the standard for a special resolution. And so we have proposed that amendment here today. And I just wanted to mention that if you wanted to go into the details, as some of us do, the flip side of the one-page report has a list of all the amendments and all the page numbers, and then the 3-column document will take you to where those sections are explained in more detail, the specific words in red, and then the rationale for why we did that. So some of the advantages of the new bylaws, as I mentioned, there's a lot more simplicity. To my infinite delight, if approved, the new bylaws would be reduced from 15 pages, which is more of the length of an average term paper, I would say, than a good set of bylaws, to about 8 pages, 7 to 8 pages. I think that's actually a really good limit on bylaws. And we also tried to address several cases of, I'm diplomatically using the word inaccessible language, but I would say more like language. Like what does that even mean? Sentences that were 8, 9 lines long. We tried to unwind some of them, not all of them, but some of the more egregious ones. We hope another benefit will be some improved clarity. We really wanted to distinguish that there are elected board members and appointed advisors, but not sort of a middle category of board members who are appointed. We just didn't know what that meant. And we really wanted to clarify the distinction between policies and bylaws and what belongs in each by confining bylaws to what makes the most sense to be in bylaws. And then we wanted to give ourselves a little bit of flexibility by transferring certain sections into board-approved policies. The officer term limits is a really good example of that. In the case that I was describing, we could simply pass an exception to that policy, appoint someone for an extra year, work on recruiting for a successor, and then be okay. And policies are easier to adjust than bylaws. And the last one is just a little bit of modernization. The inaccessible language applies to that too. A good example of how we modernize the bylaws, there's certain methods of payment are allowed, like checks. And so we just added e-transfer because that's happening more and more. And so we just took the opportunity to modernize a few sections where we could. And that is the full explanation, okay? So this is the resolution. It's provided in the report. Basically, we're asking for the membership's approval to pass a special resolution. Just to make sure it's totally clear, a special resolution requires 75% of the members present to vote in favor under the current bylaws and under the new bylaws if approved. And we would be asking the members to approve the amended bylaws in Attachment A, which reflect the amendments in Attachment B, and those would replace Attachment C, the current bylaws. And so, since I'm chairing, I'm not actually going to move this motion, but could I have someone make this motion? Donna Ludvigsen. Thank you, Donna. Could I have a seconder? Orihan. Thank you very much. Using your cards, and I'm just bracing myself for this. All in favor? Thank you very much. Any opposed? Any abstentions? Hearing that, I'd like to declare that the bylaws are approved. I'm just going to weep internally for a few minutes. It's been such a long process. So thank you for that personal gift to me. I told the board many times that one way or the other I was going to be drinking after this, either in celebration or in misery. But thank you. I do think the new bylaws will serve the organization very well, and they do reflect a lot of hard work on behalf of a lot of people. The committee, Gord McKenzie is the reviewer, the entire board who answered my pestering emails. Have you reviewed the bylaws yet? So I do appreciate that. Now, onto something that is actually legitimately exciting for people, not just bylaw nerds. Board nominations. So we do have 2 sets of appointments to take care of at this year's AGM. So I just wanted to mention that a board subcommittee did a really, really great job reviewing and interviewing potential candidates for board membership. We are recommending 3 candidates for approval who will serve a 4-year term, a 3-year term. I just changed the term limit just as I was talking. We could put that in the bylaws. Yep. 3-year term. So on the table, there is a document with pictures and bios for this year's slate of nominees. I'll also be formally introducing them a little later during the showcase event where we'll talk about their amazing biographies. But let's just let you see who they are for a few seconds. So the 3 new nominees, I'll just read their names and then I'll just have them give you a little wave so you can see who they are. So let's see. The first one would be Adil Hassan. Thank you, Adil. And Lee Newton is somewhere over there. Thank you. And Mr. Matthew Ward is right there. Thank you, everyone. Could I have, so you can check out the biographies on your table. That would be this document right here. But could I have someone move the slate of new nominees? Mr. Weinlich? Do I have a seconder? Allison hasn't done it yet. Using your cards, are they all in favor? Excellent. Any opposed to the new nominees? No? Any abstentions? I'm going to consider the motion carried. Congratulations, Adil, Lee, and Matthew. Welcome to the board. Now, we also have one reappointment, someone who's eligible to be renewed for a for a 3-year term, not 4 years. I just made that up. Mr. Robert Philp is eligible for a second 3-year term. Under our bylaws, board members can serve for 2 terms maximum, each 3 years for 6 years in total. Mr. Philp is eligible for another term. He's not able to be here tonight, but he did tell me, I promise, he told me, that he is keen to continue with the board and would be very grateful to receive a nomination to be appointed for a second term. Could I have someone move Bob's appointment to a second term? Brad, thank you very much. Could I have a seconder? Uh-oh, Bob's in trouble. Linda? Sorry, Bob. He didn't make it. I haven't been doing this, but I probably should have. But is there any debate on the motion? I could debate reappointing Bob. Maybe we should talk about that. No, Bob's great. If there is no debate, all in favor? Thank you very much. Any opposed? Do you have an axe to grind against Bob? No, that's good. Any abstentions? Great, the motion is carried. I just also wanted to mention that the Honorable Laurie Hahn is here, and he has he's going to continue on with the board in an appointed advisor role on behalf of the Edmonton Police Commission, which is a really, really important relationship for Reach Edmonton. This is an appointed advisor position, so it doesn't require a vote from the membership. We just wanted to let you know that Laurie will be continuing on with the board, and we're really excited that he'll be providing us with that strong connection to the Police Commission that we really, really value. And so, yeah, absolutely. So there's one more thing. Boards are, in the life of a board, there's comings, like our new board members, but there's also goings. And so we wanted to take a moment to acknowledge one of those goings, someone who is actually departing from the board. And as I say that, could Mr. Brad Jessen, I don't know where he is, could he come to the stage for a moment? And Jan, you can come up here too. So we're sad to announce that our treasurer, Mr. Brad Jessen, will be wrapping up with the board. He was just about to finish his first term and be reappointed to a second, but Brad, as you may or may not know, was recently married to his longtime partner. His partner will be starting his residency in radiology. It's in this little backwater town that I'm not sure if you've heard of it. It's Toronto. It's somewhere east. This is the first. I hope it's fun there. I wanted to tell you a little bit about Brad. Brad's not only made sure our financial practices were really top-notch, he really also helped streamline financial reporting to the board in a way that made it understandable, even to board members like me who know absolutely nothing about finances. And that's a major accomplishment, actually, for lots of reasons. But it does, the improved financial reporting really helped empower board members to fulfill our duty for financial oversight. So Brad's done a great job there. As I mentioned before, he was instrumental in the really extensive rewrite of our board financial policies. Brad was extremely supportive to Reach staff, offering expert guidance and a willingness to roll up his sleeves and help out. He presided over 3 successful audits, the last of which we just passed today. And our strong audit results are really, really important in building confidence in our organization for our funders, our partners, and the general public. Now, those are some of the positives, but Brad's record is not all positive. So, and we should really, have a balanced perspective about these kinds of things. So, Brad actually recruited me to serve on the board. And I don't think that that's in the positive side of the ledger based on all of the work that I've created for people over the last couple of years. So it's not all good, but for that reason, his departure is very personal to me. So let's not hold that against him too much. But Brad, we just wanted to say that you were such an asset to and an ambassador for Reach. You'll be missed by all of us, the board, the staff, the whole extended Reach family. We know you'll be exceptionally successful in this new and exciting chapter of your career. And we just wanted to say thank you, and we'd have a small token of our esteem, and we just wanted to ask the membership to give Brad a round of applause for his remarkable service. So, on that note, that actually concludes the business portion of the annual general meeting. We're going to just take a brief break. We're going to start up again at 6 o'clock. So if you haven't had a chance, like me, to get any food, please take the opportunity to do that now. And I also just wanted to tell you that there's a really wonderful exhibit out in the foyer called I See You. So please take a moment to check that out if you haven't already. I'm told it's really, really excellent. But take 15 minutes or so, get some food, chat with your neighbors, and then we'll see you back here at 6 o'clock. Thank you very much.